God in Darkness, Book 1, Truthseeker, written by Stephen Eric Johnson, read to you by Matthias Justin Johnson. Prologue, Above the Stars. The consoles glowed dimly as the onboard computers reduced their power output in preparation for the long flight ahead. More shards of light than could be counted glittered and glowed their white heat in the eternal ebon blackness of space shown on the main view screen. They were beautiful, captivating the imagination of travelers and tale-makers from time immemorial. One of these travelers gazed in awe and wonder at the infinite expanse, trying in vain to pick a single tiny pinprick of light from the millions that filled his eyes as he sat in front of the screen. "You cannot see it from here," said a quiet, kindly voice from behind the plush pilot's chair. "What?" said the small, dark figure as he turned the seat around. The shadows made him close to invisible in the vast chair that seemed to swallow him up with its size. Only the tiny nubs of ivory horns that had just started to grow gave away his presence in the darkened room. The young creature looked up at one of his masters with reverence and started to quickly slide out of the seat so that he could kneel, as was proper, with the masters. This master, though, stopped the young being with a gentle hand, then slowly turned the chair back around to face the vastness of space once more. "They are beautiful, do you not agree?" said the tall, kindly master. "Yes, master," whispered the young one, afraid to raise his voice in the presence of a master. "I was just looking and thinking." "You are wondering where our new home is going to be?" The young one nodded its dark-furred head. "Our new star is out there, far away," said the master, kneeling next to the young one. "We will find it, and we shall make it ours. Your kind will take it for us, and we shall make a new paradise to replace the one we have lost. Then, when we have finished our taking, we will return to the worlds we have lost, and take them back from the chaos. It is only a matter of time and blood. In the end, I suppose, they are the same thing." Then the master smiled and raised an accusing eyebrow at the young being. "Speaking of time, why are you not in the stasis chambers with the rest of the Mintrar, little one?" The small Mintrar looked down. "I wanted to see, one last time, what home looked like." The master frowned. "Which home?" he asked. "The old or the new?" A pair of dark eyes, bright with startling intelligence, raised to meet the master's golden ones. "Both, master, but I could not stand to look at the old any more. It is ruined. There was nothing but ashes and rubble and bones. I do not know if the bones were those of my parents. I hope so." The master's brow furrowed. "Why is that?" he asked. "Because that means they did not become traitors. That means they died with honor, that they were true Mintrar." The black-furred face turned to the screen once more. "And that means I have a worthy example to follow. Principle before compromise. Death before dishonor. Just as you and the other masters have taught us to believe. Just as I know in my heart I would like to live my own life. And, when the time comes, how I would like to end it." Sadness touched the master's features, but the Mintrar didn't see it, so intent was he on the stars. The master's long-fingered, delicate hand reached out and rested on the strong young back, rubbing gently through the short, sleek black fur. The Mintrar nearly started from surprise at the touch, but despite this momentary shock he held himself perfectly still, lest he displease the master. After a lengthy silence, the master spoke. "And what of the new home before us? What do you think of it?" "It fills me with hope, master, knowing that a new beginning is waiting for us out there," replied the Mintrar. "I am excited to see this new home, and I hope it is just as beautiful as our old one. But I have heard—" The master looked in curiosity at the Mintrar as he stopped in mid-sentence. "Please, go on, little one," he urged. "What have you heard?" Now it was the Mintrar's turn to frown. He had to choose his words carefully, he knew, for being a child was no excuse for impertinence. Angering a master was unwise at best, fatal at worst. He wanted to live. "I do not really know much, master. I have not heard much other than rumors, and I can only guess at what the future holds." The master chuckled. "You may speak freely, little one," said the master, patting the Mintrar on the back. "By Styx, I promise I will not be angered, and I truly want your thoughts in this matter." Nodding, the Mintrar took the golden-eyed male at face value, knowing the master had uttered an oath that not even one of his all-powerful kind could break, and plowed ahead. "I have heard some of the others say that we shall be conquering a world, master, taking a home away from others who were there first." The master nodded, his expression serious. "That is the plan, yes," he said, with more than a little grimness to his words. "Not the preference of all the masters, but it is the plan that we agreed upon in the end." "I do not agree with it," said the young Mintrar resolutely, refusing to show fear, as was common among his kind, even when faced with the doom that this might bring. "It does not seem right." At this the master blinked. "You question the will of the masters?" The Mintrar shook his head with some vigor, keeping his eyes from meeting those of the master. "No, master, never. But I cannot help but think that this was how we lost everything before. Others tried to take more than they needed, and that made others fight back to take just as much from their attackers, which made the first ones attack again to make up their losses. This kept going until we fell, and all that was once glory was left like my home and my parents. Ashes. Ashes and bones." Mused the master. "You think a great deal for a Mintrar." "I am sorry, master." The master waved a dismissive hand. "Don't be. Tell me, do you have a better solution? A plan that could get us a new home on an inhabited planet, filled with life and all the resources that we could ever need, without killing the current owners of that planet?" "I have wondered that myself, master," said the young Mintrar, biting his lower lip in nervousness. I think that the old owners could be made like we Mintrar. You are the masters, master. You are our gods and goddesses. We adore and worship you, and you repay our adoration with gifts and with guidance. Perhaps these others could be convinced to take part in a similar relationship. It would only take an initial display of power, and it would be easy from then on. All the living have a need to worship, no matter their species. I think it perfectly reasonable for the masters to fill that role." With his free hand, the master ruffled the little Mintrar's head fur with a playfulness uncharacteristic of any master the young one had known before, surprising the youngster to no end. "You can read, I take it?" asked the master with a roguish smile. "How else could you think of a strategy like that? It shows too much knowledge of past events and social commentary for one as young as you to have crafted it in a vacuum." The Mintrar nodded, his throat too dry to speak as he gave this non-verbal admission of his guilt. Few Mintrar could read, and the knowledge was dangerous if used overmuch, since both Mintrar and masters would kill any Mintrar who showed more learning than a warrior ought to possess. The master smiled, now stroking the fine hairs of the young Mintrar's back once more. "Do not be alarmed, little one," said the master. "I will keep your secret. But you should go to the stasis chambers now. There is not much time before the engines start, and then there will be no power to spare to put you under. Without the fields you would not survive the many lifetimes of travel ahead of us. Besides," he added with a grin, You would be bored beyond belief with no one to play with or talk to. Now, run along. I have a few last items to which I must attend." The Mintrar rose from the oversized chair and gave a very grown-up salute, then turned and ran off down the hall leading away from the ship's main control center. The Master waited for several long moments, then followed after the young one. "You may have something there, little one," mused the Master quietly to himself as he made his way to his private quarters. "The old texts do speak highly of your proposed plans, and mercy is always more palatable than carnage, to some at least." The Golden Master opened the door to the Spartanly furnished room and lay upon the bed that was to be his resting place for more time than even he cared to think about. With some effort the Master closed his eyes and willed himself into a less active state, making it easier for the stasis field to envelop him. Stretching out his thoughts, he made a quick scan of the ship, making certain that all its inhabitants were now safely tucked away in their stasis pods, as they should be. Finding all life on the ship to be where it was supposed to be, including the young Mintrar with whom he had just spoken, the Master reached still further with his thoughts, touching the minds of those on the ships nearby. "I am now ready for travel," he sent, his thoughts ringing as clearly as words in the minds of his fellow Masters. "As are we all," came a mind voice from the lead ship. "You were the last one to report in, Prometheus. What caused the delay?" "Just a youngster," thought Prometheus, the amusement obvious in his mental tone, "out past his bedtime." "You take too much pleasure in the company of your lessers, Prometheus," came the stern rebuke. "But I am glad to hear that this was the only reason. Are you ready for departure?" "Mostly," thought Prometheus, "but I do want to mention this. When we wake up, I want to discuss some of our plans for the current inhabitants of our home to be. I think I have a better alternative than our present decided upon course of action." "Acknowledged," came the response. "We will discuss it further when we arrive. Prepare for stasis." "Acknowledged," said Prometheus, "shutting down all non-essential systems. I will see all of you on the other side." "Until then, Prometheus." With that the link was broken, and the tall golden being began to let himself drift as he felt the stasis fields activate all over the ship. The activation started with the non-essential cargo, moved through the containment units for the indoor workers, the Satrar, then moved to the outdoor workers, the Kentrar. Finally it reached the soldiers, the mighty Mintrar. They were the pride and joy of Kronos, the master of the masters, and would be essential in subduing the new planet ahead of them. This thought brought back the conversation Prometheus had just had with the young Mintrar, and he had to wonder. "He did think quite a lot for a Mintrar," murmured Prometheus to himself, as the faint blue distortion of the stasis field fell over him. "But he may have something there, after all." But that was a discussion that would have to wait until later. Right now, it was time for sleep.